I think if there hadn't been the reliance on the rating agencies, then the whole business model would be questioned at this stage. Our role is quite simply to provide an opinion as to the ability of an entity or a debt instrument to deliver in terms of as per the terms under which an investor invested in a particular product or company. From that perspective, we provide an independent opinion as to the ability to repay debt. So definitely I think there is the role for us.
Yeah, so I suppose that role has been questioned, particularly given the problems that we've had in Europe and the US. Now, what have you guys had to do to adapt, to keep yourself being relevant in the whole equation around getting ratings and those being appropriate for markets and investors?
Well, the adaptations or the issues which arose in certain parts of the US obviously made us have a look at certain of our methodologies. And in that regard, certain of our ratings, as we've publicly said, did not display or work to the extent that we would have liked them to have worked, certainly in the US markets.
Sure.
But what has been the effect? The effect has been there's been certain regulatory changes brought upon us, specifically at this time in the US and in Europe. And certain of those regulatory changes will filter to other areas in which we work. We know that there's current proposed regulation on rating agencies in South Africa. There are regulations being spoken about at other markets in Africa where we work. And all of these will ultimately, we believe, be linked in some other way to the EU regulations, simply because the EU has a particular requirement in order to ensure that regulations in any country which issues international ratings into the European market, and that wasn't very well said.
Sure.
But they want to make sure that those countries are as well regulated as they deem themselves to be regulating the rating agencies.
Yeah.
So the effect will be more regulations on the rating agencies.
And that regulation, does that increase the value and the role that rating agencies bring? One of the assertions that was made in the debate around the role of your agencies was that after all has been said and done, rating agencies do still add value.
Well, we certainly do add value, because at the end of the day, we're an independent opinion. And investors want an independent opinion as the ability to repay debt, which is what we do. Now, whether or our validity is really up to the person that uses the ratings. If they feel there's no validity, then obviously they will no longer use the ratings.
Right.
Is regulation, in essence, going to change the way we do our job? No. It's going to provide an independent body the ability to look at how we do our work,
sure,
but it doesn't actually change the way we do our work. Methodology changes are brought about because we believe that certain aspects, or we might believe that certain aspects of our methodology needs to be updated.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have a regulatory base. That has an internal assessment base to say, well, our ratings, we want them to perform to the best of our ability. And sometimes that means we have to look at the way our methodologies work. Yeah,
it's an interesting discussion because it also speaks to some of the things that we do as journalists. Because one of the issues that's being addressed in the whole discussion around you and regulation is the separation of the roles, your business and commercial side. And it's a discussion that I always have with the head of sales at CNBC Africa. And we always have a discussion around that because, in part, what he wants impinges on what I want.
Sure. This is obviously a very common topic of discussion. Do rating agencies get paid by issuers in order to do ratings on those issuers for the benefit of investors?
Right.
So this is a very hot topic. How have we as Fitch Ratings addressed this particular issue, which we will add we never saw as an issue, because from the perspective of business versus analytics, we've always managed to separate the two, in our opinion. What do we do now? There's a very clear distinction between the business side of Fitch Ratings and the analytical side of Fitch Ratings. The analysts never cross the line into the commercial aspect of
the
our
Chinese
ratings.
walls.
Correct, but they never cross the line. They're not allowed to, and they won't. By the same token, the business people don't get involved in the rating process. We don't sit on rating committees. We don't make decisions. To be frank, we often don't even know when the rating decisions have come out. We see them at the same time as the market, when there's upgrades or downgrades, whatever the case might be. So I believe we manage that process exceptionally well in an environment which is not perfect from an issuer pays perspective.